Story 1. Not including my ex-wife's stepkids in activities I do with my kids. My ex-wife, 39F, and I, 42M, divorced about 4 years ago after 12 years of marriage. We have 2 kids together, 10 and 8. We live about 30 minutes apart and have split custody, but the kids live with me primarily during the school year because I live in a much better school district. The kids spend 3 weekends a month with their mom during this time. My ex and I co-parent pretty well in my opinion and usually get along fine. My ex remarried a little over a year after our divorce and has 3-year-old twins with her new husband. She also now has 2 stepkids, 13 and 11, as well. So when my kids are visiting their mom, there are 6 kids in the house. My kids hate it because they never truly feel like they are at home there because their mom's attention is divided so much between all the kids, especially their young half-siblings. They tell me that they never do any activities when they are there. They pretty much always just stick around the house because it's so much work for my ex and her husband to handle that many kids. So, I make it a point to do something fun the one weekend a month I have my kids at home. Camping, sporting events, museums, zoos, fairs, festivals, etc. My kids and I really look forward to planning and doing these things together. My ex has started asking me if it would be possible to include her stepkids in some of these activities because they are getting jealous of all the fun things my kids are doing. This turned into an argument recently because I told her to stop asking because I have stepkids and not my kids and I have zero desire to build any kind of relationship with them. I told her that the only thing stopping her and her husband from doing fun things with the kids is themselves. She told me it's a lot of work with 6 kids and I wouldn't understand. I told her it was her choice to marry a man with kids and to have more kids herself and that isn't my problem. She told me it would be fun bonding experiences for our kids and the step-kids and it would mean a lot to her if I would help her out with that. I told her that making her life easier is no longer something I am required to do and if she and her husband can't handle all the kids at the same time, then I am more than willing to revisit our custody agreement so I can have our kids more often if that would make her life easier. That pissed her off and she called me in a hole for being petty about this. I ended up telling my kids that they should try to refrain from telling their mom and step-siblings too much about the activities we do together. They didn't really understand why because we've always told them that they can tell us anything, but I explained it to them the best I could. I do feel bad about that part because I want them to know they can be honest with both their parents, but that seems to be the easiest way to keep the stepkids from getting jealous. Comment 1. NTA, your ex is incredibly entitled. You aren't a free babysitting service. You didn't volunteer to be a big brother. If her stepkids are jealous, then it's her and her partner's job to manage their expectations. Instead, she's weaponizing their jealousy to make you feel guilty. That's highly inappropriate. I agree with you and think you might want to consider rearranging the custody agreement, since she has acknowledged that 6 children in the home at once is too overwhelming for her. Comment 2. She told me it would be fun bonding experiences for our kids and the step-kids. You know whose job is to organize bonding activities for step-siblings? Their parents. They should have made sure the families were blending, and that the kids developed healthy relationships before starting to reproduce again. NTA, keep parenting your own children, they need you. Comment 3. NTA. I would be careful phrasing it with your kids, it's not that they can't be honest or need to lie, it's that not everyone has the same opportunity and may be jealous or upset if they hear all the fun you do. It's not the step-siblings' fault so you don't want anything negative to be because of them. If she wants to give you an additional weekend, I'd personally consider doing something with all 4 older kids, but if you or your kids don't want to then simply don't. There's no obligation to go above and beyond. Story 2, telling my aunt to get it together at her daughter's wedding. My cousin Tanya just got married. Everything was beautiful and I had the honor of being a part of the bridal party. Everyone in the party had a role to play and mine was practically quality control for lack of better words. I basically had to go around and make sure people were where they needed to be for pictures, activities, etc. to keep things moving. First everything was like butter, but I realized my Aunt Carrie, MOB, kept disappearing and making things fall behind. Not too much a deal in the beginning, but it seemed like as the reception went on, Carrie kept making announcements to literally anyone she passed that she had to step away for a minute because it was an emotional day. It started to become a scene as seemingly every 20 minutes or so you could see her dramatically wiping her face and climbing over people to speed walk out of the hall to let it out. People quickly got annoyed but didn't say anything, and I tried to ignore it myself, but it came to head when Tanya was waiting for pictures and Carrie was nowhere to be found. I figured she was having a cry, but after 10 to 15 minutes Tanya got really worried. A few of us went to search and it took us nearly 30 minutes to locate her. By the time I get her back it's been nearly an hour and now things are thrown off. Tanya's tensions were high. On the way back she kept repeating she's emotional and it's a big day. I told her I know, and for that reason she needs to get it together so things can move along smoothly and make less things for Tanya to worry about, and she can cry her eyes out when she gets home. She got quiet and didn't say anything else to me. We got back, took pictures and things were good until I noticed yet again Carrie's gone. I asked around and heard she left and was met with a few dirty looks. Soon after Tanya stormed over in tears and reamed me about forcing her mother to leave and feel in the way. How today isn't about me and I shouldn't be taking over. She also said a few rude things about me being single and jealous. I walked away because I was hurt. Tanya has always been my favorite cousin. At the bar I was told by another family member that before Carrie left she went around to a few people including Tanya and said I told her to leave and she wasn't wanted there, so she was leaving to not be a distraction. I was livid. I tried texting Carrie but she wouldn't respond and Tanya wouldn't hear my side when I tried to explain. So I just apologized and left. It's been a few days and I've been getting mean texts from different guests about how I ruined things and I should get my own wedding to control. When Carrie finally responded she just said next time to keep my mouth shut. I'm just really hurt and now I'm being made to be an evil control freak just because I wanted my aunt to stop making scenes. Should I just have let her be dramatic the whole evening? Comment 1. NTA. Carrie had her routine down pat to keep drawing attention to herself. Everyone played along because they were likely used to it. You acted reasonably, however, in a dysfunctional family, healthy boundaries result in escalating and often abusive behavior. You had no way of knowing in advance that you were dealing with emotionally abusive people. Now you know. Stay away from all of them. Comment 2. It's too bad you didn't encourage or the bride think of it herself to keep the ball rolling instead of waiting around for her mom to get herself under control. Where is Aunt Carrie? Oh, she had to take a moment. Here, let's get started with those pictures. I'm sure she will be back in a minute. We can move on without her, I'm sure she is fine. It would be a shame if she missed the toasts, cake cutting, first dance, or whatever. I am sorry you, OP, were made the cat wrangler, and your work wasn't appreciated. Imagine walking out of your own daughter's wedding because you can't get your shit together / want to be the center of attention, and having a hissy fit because somebody told you to put on your big girl undergarments and behave yourself. NTA, OP. Story 3, telling my kids that my MIL hates me, and that's why I'm not coming on our family trip. My husband, 33M, and I, 31F, have 2 8-year-old twin boys. We both work full-time and my husband makes a little more than me, but just a little. We make enough to be financially secure, we can afford all the necessities and rent a 2-bedroom apartment, but we have never traveled, aside from weekend road trips, and probably won't be able to in the foreseeable future. My husband's family is quite well off. A few weeks ago, my mill called my husband and asked if he wanted to bring our kids to go on a trip with her. She apparently wanted to spend some time with her family. Her family, though, doesn't include me. She has always disliked me and never considered me part of her family. Partly because I'm not religious, my husband is, but he respects my lack of belief, and also because she just doesn't like me. My husband knows this and hasn't ever forced me to interact with her, but he still talks to her occasionally. Anyhow, he told me that my mill had offered to pay for him and the boys to go on a 2-week trip with her around Thanksgiving time. I'm not invited. She said I'm not really her family, so she doesn't want to pay for me too. This is what she said word for word. According to my husband, she knows that we cannot afford for me to pay to come on this luxury trip. She can afford it pretty easily herself. I was pretty upset about this, because I'd love a break too, but I understand that the kids will love this, so I said that of course they should go. I tried to be cheerful about it, but my husband understood that I was upset. He asked my mill specifically to please invite me too so that we can have proper family trip. She reiterated that I might be his family but I'm not her family. I told him not to push it, because I want my kids to have a good time without my husband and mill fighting during the trip. But I've been feeling pretty angry about the whole thing. So yesterday when my son asked me why I wasn't more excited about the trip, I told him I wasn't coming because his grandma hates me. I said this in a bitter tone. They were pretty upset to hear this. Later, my husband told me I was in a hole for dumping my feelings on my kids, and making them feel guilty about looking forward to the trip. He said I was ruining it for them and also ruining their relationship with my mill. They're pretty close, and that I'm being selfish. So do you think I'm in the wrong? Comment 1. NTA grandmothers who mistreat the mother of their grandchildren do not get to have a close, pleasant relationship with those grandchildren. WTF was Mill and your husband planning to tell the children when you didn't go on the trip? I guarantee they would have put the onus on you. They'd have made you the bad guy that doesn't want to have family fun and not cared at all how that affected your relationships with your children. Further, your children are 8. They're going to start putting together that mum is excluded, and it isn't going to take them long at all to realize why. You have a husband and a mill problem. Comment 2. Honestly, NTA. Mill likely talks shit about you to your kids. And they will notice and pick up on the hate between you and Mill. It'll blow up when they get older. It did with me and my grandma. As soon as she realized I was like my dad, her own son, she didn't want me around anymore. And it hurt. Your sons will get hurt too. A person like your mill can't be civil in the long run. Comment 3. NTA. But why are you taking this shit? A good relationship between Mill and your kids, with your misery as foundation. Imagine your kids being in this situation, how would you feel? Kids need to know that rudeness will not be tolerated, especially not from people deemed family. You got a husband problem though. He's still very much a mummy's boy, and he's got no problems watching you suffer as long as he still has mummy's attention. If my Mill had the audacity to say I'm not family, I'd make sure she'd never see my kids again, because they're half of me, after all. And they came out of me, too. Story 4. Explaining to a man who refused to mind his busness what happens in graphic detail. What happens if I drink regular cow's milk in my latte? I had some tests to have run at my local hospital today. In the hospital is a coffee place. It isn't Starbucks, but it's a local place that has a few locations in my area. When I was all done with my medical stuff, I decided to treat myself to a coffee. I got in a long line behind a man that I noticed kept muttering about something. I noticed every time someone in front of him ordered a coffee with some sort of plant milk, he would mutter louder. Finally, he was up to order. He looked around and loudly said, "I want a regular drip coffee with real milk, not this frou-frou BS everyone drinks these days." The barista rolled her eyes and got his coffee. He was standing nearby messing with his drink or something. I ordered a latte with oat milk. I was kind of waiting for him to say something, but I wasn't officially instigating because I always get oat milk. The guy looks at me and says, "You know that's not milk, right?" I said, "Yeah, I know." He then says, "It won't kill you to drink regular milk, right? It's good for you." Now here's where I might be the R. I said, "Yeah, it won't kill me, but I don't want to Hershey squirt all the way home. I don't want to shit myself from now until there is nothing left in my stomach. So if you don't mind, I will take my oat milk latte and not shit myself, thanks." The guy threw his coffee away and left. The barista was in shock. Now I feel bad, and my husband said it was kind of uncalled for, but he also laughed so hard when I told him. I get so annoyed when people decide they have some out-of-pocket thing to say to me. Comment 1. He then says it won't kill you to drink regular milk, right? It's good for you. Well, he did ask, and you let him know in no uncertain terms that there are horrible stomach and intestinal symptoms that follow. Some people need to hear it and be disgusted in order for them to leave others alone and shut their mouths. What is his problem anyway? You eat your coffee the way you each like it, and that's that. What do I give a sh if you drink oat milk? As long as you don't force me to drink it, I don't care. NTA. Comment 2. NTA. His faulty assumptions about how everyone should have the same diet as him were just demonstrated to be wrong, in spectacular fashion. Will he engage in any self-reflection on this incident and try to personally grow? Probably not. But maybe, just maybe, there's a chance that he's learned a lesson about sharing his unsolicited opinions with strangers in public, and for that small bit of public service, the rest of us owe you a thank you. Comment 3. NTA, and here's why. My oldest is allergic to dairy, not lactose intolerant, full-on allergic. If he has any, he is throwing up for hours with the worst stomach cramps. I've had restaurants give him a cheeseburger, can't have it, and they don't understand why. The worst is chocolate chip cookies. He can have that, right? Hell no. If it's milk chocolate, no. People are idiots and think they always know best. Or, it's not that bad. I have had family members give him something with milk in it, just to see. They just need to mind their business.